So I got these guys, 2 new oxygen sensors. Code reader says there's a pending oxygen sensor code pending. So that's these guys here. That's almost $160 for 2 of these. I remember when they used to be like 30 bucks each. Oh, how times change. So this essentially was what your O2 sensor looks like. The little cap comes off. But this should screw somewhere into the exhaust pipe, and then this just has a wire that plugs in on the other end. And this particular one is looks like a 7/8. If it's not a 7/8, then it's a metric. It's real close to a 7/8 because it's pretty close to a fit. But hoping we can reach that from behind the doghouse, so I don't have to climb up under the vehicle, because I don't want to lay down under the vehicle. I just don't want to. Looking down here. Get a little better angle on that. There it is, right there. That is it. And then it just comes, and that's the plug for it right there. So whether I'll be able to get a wrench in there and get this, I don't know. I may have to crawl on the ground, but don't listen to me. I'm just being a big baby. I don't want to. The connector here is interesting because it's got this little metal clip that's just basically clipping onto the fuel line. But you unclip that, then you can bring it up here to work on it. But what's interesting here is where your plug goes in here. Put your plug in, that'll close. They've got a little blue slip here that's going to go through this hole here after the connector goes on it. This will go through and hold it on. But you have to pull this out before you get the connector to come loose. And I didn't realize that, so that's why I was fighting with it for a minute. But the fun part still remains, which is getting that rusty thing out of the exhaust pipe. So 3 hours later, and half a can of peanut butter blaster later, I know that's not what it is. I was able to get one of these out, and it took a lot of strength. But essentially, they do have there is a wrench they make here that's slotted. It's like a closed-end wrench with a slot cut out. Maybe able to rent or borrow that from a parts store. I don't know. But one of the things I want to point out is this right here essentially is where that was. But you can take and you can put a second socket wrench and hook them onto your tines.
Yeah, I know. It's not a socket wrench. English is hard. Cut me a break.
And let me kind of set this aside here. But you can lock 2 wrenches together like this, and that'll give you a lot more leverage. Just kind of like having a breaker bar on the end of it. And without doing that, I would not have been able to get this thing off. So if anyone isn't aware of that, it is something you can do. Time to get this one in. I think we'll hold off on the other till tomorrow. Well, the sun is out. See it up there? It's still 20 degrees, but the sun is out, so it feels warmer. I went to the parts store and I got borrow a loaner tool to actually do the oxygen sensor, to see if this is a little bit easier. But the challenge we have is where I've got to get under the vehicle here. And let me flip this camera around. The last few remaining icicles and stuff are dripping off where I've got to get under, so I'm going to be whining about getting under there again. This wrench here has that notch in it, so it slides over the cable, and then it goes down, and that grabs onto the wrench end of that. And if we have to, we can probably get a breaker bar on this to put some extra torque on it. But we did spray PB Blaster on it, and it had a chance to sit all night, so hopefully this one will give me fewer troubles. I'm back to the regular wrench. And where is it at? There it is. I had to feed the plug for the O2 sensor through that wrench. It's a very tight fit. And then we're going with that. And if I can get that back on, there we go. And we go from here to there. Then we've got to reposition it again. But the tool they sell, let me see. That shiny thing on the ground that's out of focus, that's the tool that they have for O2 sensors, and it would not fit and wouldn't give me clearance. Well, it fit, but it wouldn't give me clearance to turn anywhere. So it was that was a bust. If you look at the threads on that nut, see how tore up they are? That is from trying to take this thing out with the custom O2 center tool. And when it started doing that, I gave up and went back to my regular wrench. And you can see she's out. Well, it's in, it's installed, and our plug wire's put in. So I just noticed this, what I thought really interesting. Used for removing and installing oxygen sensors in many Ford, blah, 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 blah. So AutoZone sold me this Chevy O2 sensors, and then gave me a Ford wrench to go with it. Sweet. Wish I'd noticed that sooner. So I've done a bunch of these repairs that we've seen over the last few videos, waiting on, you know, just the engine availability, or back order gave me time to mess with stuff because there was nothing that I could do. But I've managed to do a bunch of repairs. I've gotten rid of all the check engine codes, and whatever it sounded like was banging around, physically banging around the engine, has stopped doing that, and I've driven around the Reno area about 150 miles without any check engine lights or anything super crazy. There's still a couple things that I want to look at, including fuel pump pressure and fuel pump volume, a couple other things. But we've got a break in the weather, and I've test driven this for a while without any catastrophic problems. So I'm thinking about heading back on the road while the weather's nice. I know where my next destination is, and I can break that up into little 40-mile stints. And so I think I'm going to do that and hit the road and see what it does. And I think it's 250 miles total to my next destination, where I could probably get some work done if I needed to, something along those lines. But we'll see. It might work, or, you know, might get towed right back around. I don't know. But someone might find out. And just to be clear with everybody, all these videos are delayed a little bit. So if I've managed to get to the point where I've uploaded this video, then I haven't died. So that's a good thing.